That morning, soft sunlight filtered through the dining room window, casting gentle streaks of light across the worn oak table. It should have been the most peaceful moment of the day, but a heavy silence filled the room, pressing down on my chest like a weight. Beside me, Alex paced back and forth, each step creaking loudly on the floor. The argument from the night before still echoed in my mind, unresolved and looming. It had all started with Amanda, Alex's sister, who always came to us whenever she had financial trouble. At first I didn't think much of it. I just wanted to help. But over time, those emergencies turned out to be impulsive shopping sprees and reckless spending. That morning, Amanda texted again, asking me to hand over my credit card to handle yet another urgent issue. I decided I couldn't go along with it any longer. "Emma, what were you thinking refusing Amanda?" Alex stopped pacing and turned sharply toward me, his voice cold and edged with anger. "Alex, we need to talk about this seriously." I tried to stay calm, locking eyes with him. "Giving Amanda the credit card is only making things worse. She needs to learn how to manage her finances, not keep depending on us." Alex's face flushed red, and his voice rose, furious. "She's my sister, Emma. Family helps each other out. You're being selfish." His words squeezed my heart, but I stood firm. "This isn't selfish, Alex. We've helped her countless times, but nothing has changed. Can't you see we're only enabling her? You don't have siblings. You don't understand what family responsibility means," he shouted, every word cutting through me like a blade. I took a deep breath, holding back the sting. "You're right, I don't have siblings. But I do understand responsibility, and right now, our responsibility is protecting our own finances, not funding Amanda's poor decisions." He stared at me, seething, his breathing heavy. "You don't get it, do you? You will give Amanda the card. She's stopping by this afternoon and you'll hand it to her. Got it?" His voice was like ice, and though I trembled, something inside me refused to back down. "No, Alex, I won't do that. If she needs help, I'll gladly help her create a financial plan or find a financial advisor. But I won't give her the card again." Before I could finish, Alex grabbed his coffee mug, his fingers whitening from the grip. His face tightened with rage. "Emma, you're pushing me to the edge," he roared, his voice booming through the room. "No, Alex, I'm trying to protect us," I shouted back, my limit reached. He slammed the coffee mug onto the table, spilling coffee across the wood. His eyes were filled with fury and disappointment. "If Amanda shows up today and you don't hand her that card, Emma, you'll deal with the consequences," he said, each word sharp and final. The dining room door slammed behind him, leaving me sitting alone in the deafening quiet, my heart aching under the bitter truth. Amanda had always been his first priority. After Alex stormed off, I remained frozen in my chair, heart pounding. I had endured this unease for so long, but today it crossed a line. I stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the small backyard garden, searching for a sliver of peace. But Alex's words rang in my ears. That afternoon, just as he said, Amanda showed up at my door, her face cheerful and carefree, as if nothing had happened. "Hey, Emma, sorry to bother you again, but this one's really urgent." Amanda smiled sweetly, eyes shimmering with practiced innocence. "Amanda, come in. We need to talk," I said, opening the door with a calm tone that took all my effort to maintain. We sat at the coffee table. I met her gaze, refusing to waver. "Amanda, I need you to understand something. Alex and I have supported you many times, but nothing's changed. Giving you the card again will only make things worse in the long run. I can't do that anymore." Amanda blinked, taken aback, then offered a smirk. "So really turning me down? Has Alex approved this? You sure he's okay with it?" "I've made this clear to him already, Amanda. We'll help you in other ways, but I'm not handing you the card again," I said firmly. Just then the front door burst open. Alex stood there, face stone cold, eyes blazing. "Emma, what are you doing?" he demanded, storming toward me. "I'm explaining things to Amanda," I answered, trying to stay steady, though my pulse raced. Alex said nothing more. He picked up my freshly brewed coffee, his eyes sharp as daggers. "I warned you, Emma," he growled. "You love testing me, don't you?" Before I could react, Alex flung the hot coffee at me. Scalding liquid splashed across my face, neck, and shirt, searing my skin. I screamed from the pain, the room falling silent as Amanda gasped in shock. "You made me do this. If you won't give Amanda the card, then get out of this house now," Alex shouted, livid. I looked up at him, tears rolling down my cheeks, tears of pain, but mostly of heartbreak. "What did I ever do to deserve this?" I whispered. Alex wouldn't meet my eyes. "Your biggest mistake was never respecting my family," he said coldly, then turned to Amanda. "Let's go. I'll handle this later." He stormed out. Amanda followed in silence, no apology, no comfort. I sat there, physically burning, emotionally crushed. Each drop of spilled coffee soaking into my shirt was a symbol of a marriage shattered beyond repair. In that moment, I finally understood. I had never truly belonged in that family. I was always the outsider, the one expected to bend, sacrifice, and stay silent just to keep the peace. I got up and slowly walked to the bathroom to rinse the burns on my face and neck. Staring into the mirror, I saw my reflection. Eyes full of pain and fury. And at that moment, I knew I could no longer live with the injustice and abuse. Maybe Alex throwing coffee on me was the final straw, forcing me to face the truth and find a way out of this toxic relationship. The future ahead might be full of uncertainty and hardship, but I understood this was the only choice if I wanted to reclaim my life and self-respect. After washing off the stinging coffee from my skin, I stood still in the bathroom, my heart still heavy. My breath slowly steadied, but the storm in my mind remained. The mirror reflected red patches along my jaw and neck, but the real wounds ran much deeper. I thought back to the first day I moved into this house with Alex, so full of joy and hope. We had spent an entire afternoon painting the living room, laughing as paint got in our hair and on our clothes. I truly believed this place would be our warm, shared haven, but now those memories felt distant and painfully hollow. Every corner of the house now suffocated me, as if every item and every memory whispered reminders of how broken our marriage had become. I sat down on the bed, ran my hand across the soft blanket, and felt only the cold emptiness of what should have been our most peaceful space. A bitter ache welled up inside me as I realized how long I had allowed myself to be controlled and manipulated by Alex, all in the name of love and family loyalty. He had once been warm, caring, the man I trusted with my life, but now, all I saw was a stranger, selfish and cruel. I picked up my phone, wanting to call someone, to pour out everything I had kept bottled up, but I suddenly realized I had isolated myself from friends and family without even noticing. Alex always acted annoyed whenever I met up with friends or took time for myself. I had slowly let go of each relationship to avoid conflict, to keep fragile peace in our home. As I scrolled through my contacts, I stopped at a familiar name. Julia, my best friend from college. We hadn't spoken in a long time, partly from life's busyness, but mostly because of Alex's constant complaints every time I saw her. I hesitated, then pressed call. The ringing tone pulled me back into harsh reality. "Emma? Is that you? Oh my God, it's been forever." Julia's voice was warm and surprised. "Julia, My throat tightened, tears spilling down my face. "I don't know what to do anymore." "Emma, are you okay? What's going on?" Julia immediately picked up on my distress, her concern washing over me like a wave of comfort. I began to tell her everything, the way Alex had become increasingly controlling and cold, the times I had tried to be patient, only to be met with cruelty and disregard. Julia stayed silent, listening, occasionally offering soft words of shock or support. When I finished, she said gently, "Emma, you don't deserve any of this. It's emotional abuse, plain and simple. You need to get out. Come stay with me. You'll always have a place here. We'll figure this out together." Her words broke me open. I sobbed not just from pain but from the overwhelming sense of being seen and cared for after so long. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. "Thank you, Julia. I really need you right now," I whispered. "You don't have to thank me. That's what friends are for. Now pack your things, I'll be waiting," Julia replied firmly. Hanging up the phone, I looked around the bedroom once more. My decision was clear. I had to be brave enough to leave this house. A place that once felt like home but had become a battleground where I was slowly losing myself. I stood up and began packing a few clothes into a suitcase. With every item I folded, I felt a step closer to freedom. I didn't know what the future would hold, but I knew this: it was time to reclaim my life and find my own happiness again. I looked around the room one last time, overwhelmed with emotion. Every object, every photo held the imprint of days I once believed were happy, but now they were only fragments of a broken dream. I pulled my suitcase out of the room, my heart still heavy, but my steps more resolute. At the front door I paused, taking a deep breath to steady myself. My eyes landed on the picture frame on the table. A photo of Alex and me, smiling brightly on our wedding day, 4 years ago. I picked it up, stared at it for a while, then placed it face down. In that moment, I realized I could no longer live in regret or pretend to be happy. As I stepped outside, a soft afternoon breeze brushed against me, carrying the scent of jasmine from the small garden out front. The sky was unusually clear, as if encouraging me in the hardest decision I'd made. I got in the car, started the engine, and drove off, leaving behind all the pain and sorrow that had gone on for far too long. On the way to Julia's house, my mind raced with countless thoughts. I was scared and uncertain. The road ahead was blurry. Still, a small part of me felt oddly relieved, as if I had finally set down a crushing weight I'd carried for years. When I pulled up in front of Julia's home, the door flew open. She was already there, smiling warmly, arms wide open. "Emma, you're finally here. Come in, you're gonna be okay," she said, wrapping me in a hug that instantly brought tears to my eyes. "Thank you so much, Julia," I choked out, holding her tightly. "No need to thank me, Emma. You've been so strong. Now it's time to rest," she said, gently patting my back. That evening, Julia and I sat in her living room, sipping hot tea and catching up on everything we'd missed. I told her everything. About the marriage, the isolation, the moments I felt invisible even in my own home. Julia listened closely, her eyes full of empathy. "Emma, you've been through enough. I know you're uncertain about what's next, but trust me. This is the best decision you've ever made. You deserve a life filled with happiness," she said softly. I stayed quiet for a moment, then nodded. In that moment, I knew I had done the right thing. The road ahead might be rough, but at least now I was in control of my own life. "Julia, I honestly don't know what to do next," I admitted, anxiety creeping in again. "Don't worry, Emma, we'll take it one step at a time." "You're not alone in this," Julia said firmly, her eyes glowing with strength. Her sincerity calmed me. I felt renewed, like I had someone in my corner. That night, lying in the guest room at Julia's house, I closed my eyes and tried to imagine the new life ahead. I realized that sometimes we must leave what's familiar to rediscover who we truly are. Leaving Alex hadn't been easy, but staying would have meant losing myself forever. I had endured long enough to finally understand. Real love never comes with control, hurt, or fear. Before falling asleep, I whispered to myself, "Starting tomorrow, I will write a new chapter in my life. A chapter of strength, freedom, and the true happiness I now know I deserve." The next morning, I woke up in the quiet little room at Julia's house. I hadn't slept much, but my heart already felt lighter. Gentle sunlight peeked through the curtains, as if to tell me a new day had begun, and I could start over. While having morning coffee with Julia, my mind suddenly wandered to Clara, my close friend from college. We used to be like sisters. But distance gradually grew between us because Alex didn't like me spending too much time with friends. Clara was always so thoughtful, understanding, and knew exactly how to comfort others. Suddenly, I felt an overwhelming urge to talk to her. "Julia, do you remember Clara?" I asked softly. "Of course, she always asks about you. It's been a while since I saw her too. Why?" "I think I should call her. I haven't reached out in so long, and honestly, I feel really guilty." I sighed, the weight of regret sinking in. "Call her. I'm sure she'd be thrilled to hear your voice." Julia smiled encouragingly. I stepped into Julia's backyard, dialed Clara's number, my heart pounding, part hope, part fear. After just a few rings, her familiar voice came through. "Emma, oh my God, it's really you?" Clara exclaimed, her voice filled with emotion. "Clara, it's me. I'm sorry it's been so long since we talked," I said, my voice shy and hesitant. "Oh, Emma, don't say that. I've missed you so much. Are you okay?" I took a deep breath and started telling Clara everything that had happened. Each word felt like a release. Clara listened in silence, occasionally offering heartfelt support and reassurance. "Emma, you're so brave for walking away from that marriage. I'm really proud of you," Clara said, her voice emotional when I finished. "Thank you, Clara, but honestly, I don't know what to do next." "Emma, where are you? Do you have a place to stay?" "I'm at Julia's place." "That's great, but if you ever need another place or anything at all, my home is always open. I don't want you to feel alone right now," Clara said firmly. "Thank you, Clara. Your support means the world to me," I said, my heart warming. "Don't mention it, Emma. I'm always here for you. Hey, are you free next weekend? Come over. We have so much to catch up on." I smiled softly at her kind invitation. "Absolutely, I'll be there." After the call ended, I stood there for a while, gazing at the clear blue sky. Reconnecting with a true friend gave me a sense of lightness and hope I hadn't felt in a long time. Back inside, Julia looked at me with a warm smile. "How was the call, Emma?" "Even better than I expected. Clara's truly a wonderful friend," I replied, filled with gratitude. "And Emma, things will be okay. Sometimes the first step is the hardest, but once you take it, you'll feel stronger and freer," Julia said gently. I nodded. She was right. I had taken the first step toward reclaiming myself. The road ahead was still uncertain, but at least I no longer felt alone. Sitting on the living room sofa, I closed my eyes and let a calm peace settle in. I knew this journey wouldn't be easy, but with the love and support of genuine friends like Julia and Clara, I believed I could face anything. That day, I realized something important. Sometimes, the simplest things, like a call to an old friend, carry the greatest power to restore hope and belief in yourself. From that moment on, I knew I would never have to face life's battles alone again. A few days later, I met with Sarah Thatcher, a well-known attorney in the small town where I now lived. Her office was tucked in the historic district, inside an old red brick building with large windows overlooking the street. As I stepped in, I felt slightly tense, but also reassured by Sarah's warm, welcoming smile. Sarah was around 45, with neatly tied blonde hair and sharp but kind eyes. After I took a seat across from her, she spoke in a calm voice. "Emma, I've heard a bit about your situation from Julia. I'm truly sorry for what you've been through. Can you share more details so I can help you as best as possible?" Taking a deep breath, I began recounting my marriage to Alex, how it had turned into a life of pressure, control, and emotional manipulation, and how I had finally decided to leave the house we once called home. Sarah listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes in her small notebook. Her expression was full of empathy. When I finished, she gently said, "Emma, your decision was incredibly brave. I fully support you and will do everything I can to make the divorce process as fair and efficient as possible. I want you to know that you are not alone in this." I could feel the sincerity in her voice, and something inside me finally eased. "Thank you so much, Sarah. I truly appreciate your support during this time," I said, my voice thick with emotion. Sarah smiled warmly. "It's my pleasure, Emma. Now, let's begin the paperwork. I'll contact Alex directly and prepare the necessary documents. You focus on settling into your new life." Leaving Sarah's office, I felt as if a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Still, I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The next day, Julia brought me to a small bookstore called Cozy Corner, nestled on a quiet street corner in town. The shop was modest but inviting, with soft yellow lights and the faint, comforting scent of fresh paper lingering in the air. The owner, Mrs. Megan, was a middle-aged woman with shimmering silver hair and a kind smile. "Hello, Emma, so nice to meet you," Mrs. Megan greeted me warmly. "Julia has told me a lot about you." I smiled shyly, feeling both nervous and hopeful. "I could really use someone to help with shelving and assisting customers. If you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to start working here," she continued. That would be amazing. I truly appreciate this opportunity, Mrs. Megan, I replied, my heart swelling with joy. Since I started working at Cozy Corner, I felt a shift in my spirit. Each day, chatting with friendly customers and discussing favorite books, I slowly rediscovered simple joys and the deeper meaning of life I had once lost. Julia and Clara often stopped by the shop to support me. On some afternoons after work, we'd sit together at a nearby cafe, sipping hot tea and sharing life updates. Those little moments became a source of healing and comfort for me. One day, while I was reorganizing a bookshelf, Mrs. Megan came beside me and softly said, "Emma, I know you're going through a tough time, but I want you to know that this bookstore will always be a place of peace for you. Let these pages help you heal and find yourself again." I looked at her, deeply moved. Thank you so much, Mrs. Megan. Working here truly feels like a blessing. In the days that followed, I slowly regained my confidence and began finding joy in the small tasks at the bookstore. I knew there were still many challenges ahead, but I no longer feared them. With the support and kindness of good friends and a warm community around me, I truly believed I could rewrite my life into the story I'd always dreamed of living. Late one evening, as Julia and I sat chatting in her cozy little living room, her phone suddenly started vibrating non-stop. Julia looked down at the screen, and her face immediately turned pale. "Julia, what's wrong?" I asked anxiously, alarmed by her serious expression. She handed me the phone, and my heart pounded when I saw Alex's name on the screen. The text messages from Alex were filled with threats and rage. "I know Emma is at your place. Tell her to come home immediately or there will be consequences." "I'm not joking, Julia. You don't want to get involved in this." I took a deep breath, fear rising in my chest. But this time I knew I couldn't let fear control me any longer. "Julia, I'm sorry for dragging you into this," I said, my voice trembling. Julia quickly grabbed my hand and reassured me. "Emma, you have nothing to apologize for. We're going to handle this together. I won't let you face Alex alone." We immediately called Sarah Thatcher, explaining every detail of the threats Alex had just sent. After hearing us out, Sarah gave clear instructions. "Emma, Julia, keep all those messages as evidence. I'll begin preparing a restraining order right away. Tomorrow morning we'll go to court together to file the paperwork." I nodded, deeply grateful for Sarah's decisiveness and care. That night, I couldn't sleep. Alex's threats haunted me, but deep down I knew I could never go back to that life. Not to fear, not to daily pressure. The next morning, I went with Julia and Sarah to the local courthouse. Thanks to clear evidence and my honest statement, the restraining order was swiftly approved. Walking out of the courtroom, I felt like I had just been freed from invisible chains. Sarah gently patted my shoulder and said, "Emma, you're now legally protected. Alex can't approach or harass you anymore. You can begin your new life in peace." Julia smiled in relief. "That's right, Emma. From now on, you don't have to be afraid. I'll always be here for you." On the way home, I felt lighter and freer than I had in a long time. Still, my mind wasn't completely at ease. I knew Alex wouldn't give up easily, but this time, I was determined not to let anyone else control my life ever again. Back at Cozy Corner, I quickly immersed myself in my familiar work. That little bookstore had become my safe haven, a place where I found peace in the pages of books, in light-hearted chats with customers, and in Mrs. Megan's gentle presence. One quiet afternoon, while I was organizing books, Mrs. Megan came over and softly said, "Emma, you're much stronger than you think. Never forget that you're surrounded by people who care about you and are here to help." I looked at her with gratitude and replied, "I know, I truly feel lucky to have you and such good friends like Julia and Clara." Mrs. Megan nodded with a warm smile and walked away, leaving me to continue my work. I stood there alone among the colorful shelves and endless stories, feeling more at peace and stronger than I'd ever felt before. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew I wasn't alone anymore. With legal protection from Sarah, the support of my friends, and a caring community, I could face the future with courage and confidence. I would never return to my old life, because starting today, I had chosen to live for myself. A few weeks after I filed for divorce, Attorney Sarah Thatcher arranged an in-person meeting between me, Alex, and his sister Marie to make everything final. We met in a small conference room in Sarah's law office. I arrived early, trying to stay calm even though my heart was pounding. "Emma, are you okay?" Julia, who had always stood by me, asked with concern. "I'm okay. Thank you for coming with me today," I replied, trying to smile to reassure both her and myself. Not long after, the door opened and Alex walked in with Marie. His eyes were cold, his tense expression showing clear displeasure at seeing me calmly sitting there, ready to face him. "Emma, do you really want to go this far?" Alex asked, his voice filled with blame and resentment. "Alex, this is my decision. I can't live that life anymore," I responded, trying to keep my tone steady. Marie sat down next to Alex, glaring at me. "Emma, you're blowing this way out of proportion. Our family never did anything wrong to you." Sarah Thatcher finally spoke up, her tone sharp but steady. "I'm sorry, but I must ask everyone to remain calm and respectful during this meeting. Emma has every right to decide the course of her own life, and I'm here to protect those rights." Alex turned towards Sarah, his voice defiant. "I don't understand why we're even here listening to this nonsense. I want Emma to come home. Simple as that." "Alex, that's not going to happen anymore. I've made my decision. I'm getting a divorce and I will never go back," I said firmly, locking eyes with him. "You think it's going to be that easy?" Marie interjected with a mocking tone. "Our family treated you well and this is how you repay us?" "Mary, do you really believe that controlling the finances, forcing me to carry all the pressure, and constantly demanding money from me was kindness?" "I can't live under that kind of manipulation anymore," I replied with strength in my voice. Sarah's expression turned serious as she looked directly at Alex and Marie. "Alex, I want to remind you that the threatening messages you've sent are more than enough for us to pursue stronger legal action. If you continue to harass or intimidate Emma, the legal consequences will be severe." Alex fell silent for a moment, clearly surprised by how prepared Sarah and I were, but he quickly regained his fake composure. "Emma, you're making a huge mistake. I just want what's best for you." I took a deep breath and responded with resolve. "Alex, what's best for me now is to live free from your shadow and your control," Sarah continued, her voice firmer than before. "From this moment on, I expect you to respect Emma's decision and strictly follow the court-issued restraining order. If you violate it, we will immediately take legal action." Marie looked like she was about to say something, but Alex raised a hand to stop her. His eyes burned with anger, but he held it in. Finally, he said coldly, "Fine, Emma. If this is what you want, go ahead. But don't think it'll be easy." Alex and Marie stood up and left the room quickly. As the door shut behind them, I exhaled deeply, feeling like I'd just made it through a war. "Emma, you did amazing," Julia said, gripping my hand with encouragement. Sarah offered a warm smile. "She's right. You were incredibly strong. Now you can focus entirely on rebuilding your life without fear." My heart felt lighter and more peaceful than it had in a long time. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but with support from friends and a trusted attorney, I was ready to face them all, and finally live the life I had always dreamed of. After that tense meeting at Sarah's office, I began taking the first real steps to rebuild my life. Day by day, it became clearer that leaving Alex was the best decision I had ever made. With the encouragement and support of Julia and Sarah, I found a small apartment tucked away on a quiet street in Portland. It wasn't spacious, but it was cozy and warm, just enough for me to start over. Standing in this new space, I felt a rush of excitement, tasting freedom I hadn't felt in years. On moving day, Julia helped me unpack and decorate. She eagerly hung my favorite painting, a peaceful autumn scene from New England. "Emma, you truly deserve this," Julia said, her eyes filled with sincere joy. "Thank you so much, Julia. Without you and Sarah, I'm not sure I would have had the strength to get through it all," I replied, overwhelmed with gratitude. Living alone at first felt unfamiliar. I spent my free time reading, tending to my little indoor plants, and most importantly, writing again. It was a dream I had long buried. I opened my old laptop, typing slowly and hesitantly at first, but with each word I felt lighter. I remembered my childhood dream of becoming a writer, of telling stories that could move people. But years with Alex had drained that passion, turning me into someone who barely recognized herself. Now, sitting at my desk, I felt like I was reconnecting with a long-lost friend. One afternoon, as I was deeply focused on writing, my phone rang unexpectedly. I glanced at the screen, my heart skipping slightly when I saw Sarah's name. "Emma, I have great news," Sarah exclaimed as soon as I answered. "The court has finalized your divorce. You're completely free now. You can start building your new life." My heart felt twice as light. It wasn't just a legal victory, it was the opening of a brand new door. "I'm so happy for you, Emma," Julia cheered when I told her the news. "Now nothing's stopping you from becoming that famous writer." I laughed gently, but inside I was deeply moved. In the following days I spent more time at Cozy Corner. Mrs. Megan, the bookstore owner, was fully supportive when she learned I had started writing again. "Mulday, your books will be right here on these shelves," she said, her eyes full of encouragement. My new life gradually settled into a comfortable, peaceful rhythm. Every morning I woke up early to write, savoring each quiet moment. In the afternoon I worked at the bookstore, meeting fellow book lovers and sharing meaningful stories. Evenings were spent cooking simple meals and relaxing in the cozy space I'd arranged myself. Over time, I realized I was no longer afraid of the past. The scars were still there, but they no longer controlled my emotions. I knew each passing day was a small step toward a better version of myself. One evening, as I finished the first chapter of my new novel, I was overwhelmed with a deep sense of pride. I smiled, gazing out the window, truly feeling the freedom, joy, and hope surrounding me. From this point forward, my life would be different. Because I now knew one thing for certain. I was the author of my own story. In the days that followed, I continued this new journey with a sense of optimism I had never felt before. My little apartment became my sanctuary, a place where I felt truly safe and free. Each morning, I woke up with a quiet happiness I once thought I'd lost forever. I completed the final chapter of my first novel, my heart filled with both pride and nerves. This was the beginning of a dream I once believed had vanished during those difficult years with Alex. I took a deep breath, letting the rush of emotion swell in my chest. I had done it! Julia and Sarah were the first to read my manuscript. Julia called me right after finishing, her voice trembling. "Emma, I didn't expect your story to be this moving. You've truly found your voice again." Sarah quickly sent a message of encouragement. "Emma, this is just the beginning. I'm confident your book will touch many hearts." Their words only strengthened my confidence. I decided to submit the manuscript to a few publishers, nervous but hopeful. While waiting for responses, I poured my energy into work at Cozy Corner. Each day there brought me joy and a sense of purpose. One sunny afternoon, while shelving new arrivals, my phone buzzed. My heart raced when I saw an email from a well-known publisher. I opened it with breathless anticipation. "We've read your novel and are deeply impressed by the story and your storytelling voice. We would love to work with you to publish it." I could hardly believe my eyes. A wave of emotion surged through me. I called Julia and Sarah right away to share the news. Their joyous screams made me laugh through happy tears. "Emma, you deserved this," Julia said, her voice thick with emotion. "I always knew you could do it." The day the book was published was a milestone in my life. Julia and Sarah hosted a small celebration at Cozy Corner. Close friends and loyal bookstore customers gathered to mark the occasion. Standing in that room filled with laughter, I felt my heart radiate warmth. During the party, Mrs. Megan, the bookstore owner, came up to me, gently took my hand and said, "Emma, you've done something incredible. I always knew you had the strength to rise above it all." This new life brought me not only success, but true peace. I realized that everything I had gone through had taught me invaluable lessons. Now I cherish every little moment, love myself deeply, and fiercely protect the freedom I fought so hard to reclaim. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, flipping through the freshly printed pages of my novel. I looked out the window at the distant city lights, my heart brimming with gratitude and pride. "This is only the first chapter of my new story," I whispered with a soft smile. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but I wasn't afraid anymore. Because now I was standing on my own feet, ready to walk forward with unwavering hope and strength. One thing was crystal clear. My life was now in my own hands. And I, Emma, would write the rest of my story. Without limits, without fear. Emma's journey is a testament to the power of awakening and courage. Once a woman manipulated, controlled, and emotionally and financially abused, she chose to stand up and walk away from a toxic marriage to rediscover herself. With the support of friends and a determined lawyer, she not only protected her rights, but rebuilt her life, with her own hands and resilient heart. Her story inspires anyone seeking a way out of darkness. What do you think of Emma's decision? Did she take the right path to reclaim her life? Share your thoughts below the video, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful, heartfelt stories about family and personal growth.